Good evening, everybody. My name is Dave Karger. I'm a host on Turner Classic Movies, and I have the great pleasure of bringing out 7 members of the dream team behind what I think is the best movie of the year. I hope you'll help me welcome them, starting with Benicio del Toro. Regina Hall. Please welcome Teyana Taylor. Oh my God, I'm just noticing the shoes. Oh my God, those are amazing. Sean Penn is here. Rookie of the Year, Chase Infiniti. Please welcome Leonardo DiCaprio. And writer-director Paul Thomas Anderson. Great to see you. Congratulations, guys. Hope you all like this movie as much as I do. Sounds like that's a yes. Paul, I was watching an interview today that a lot of your cast did, and both Teyana and Chase said that they wish they could be a fly on the wall while you're writing one of these scripts, and they're very curious as to what that looks like and what your methodology is. So can you kind of set the scene for us when you're working on a script like this? Are you at home? Is there a certain place? Are you doing it in spurts? Is it long days? What's it like?
Oh boy, oh boy. Nobody's ever asked me that before. It probably looks really unproductive. Probably like a lot of sitting, standing, sitting, standing. The only thing I know for sure is I write in the mornings. I write first thing in the morning. I usually wake up about 5 or 5:30 if it's going well.
Oh.
Try to get up before the kids get up. Get a lot of work done. Um, I've been writing this though in fits and starts for a long time. So some of it as long ago as 1999.
Wow.
And then I went away from it, and then I would come back and go away, come back. But I think I got pretty serious about it about 7 or 8 years ago, more. And then I just wrote Phantom Thread instead, and then I got serious about it. Then I wrote Licorice Pizza instead, and Adam Sumner, who we work with, Adam said, I think it's enough fucking around. It's time to write, to finish this and do this.
I think he was right. Leo, you've said that you kind of made it known, and this is something you've done before, you kind of make it known to directors that you're interested in working with that when they're ready, you're ready. And obviously you have known Paul for a while, but how do you make it known? Is it like sending an email to him directly? Is it through representatives and mutual friends? Like, how does the word get out that you would like to make a movie with him now?
I have a network of small gnomes that sort of scour the city. How do I make it known? I don't know. Look, it's very simple. I've just been a fan of his work. He's, one of the, he's a generational talent, and I my mind just sort of I can't imagine, a writer coming up with the concept of the Christmas Adventurers Club. You know what I mean? How you come up with this sort of pseudo-Masonic group that you feel like may exist in this world. Does it? Is there some entity like that is controlling the masses out there? Do they exist? Just the imagination of these world where he's pushing these extremes, the humor, but it's so topical and holding a mirror to society right now. This was a movie. I would have done anything that really Paul asked me to do, to be honest, but this just felt so incredibly pertinent to where we are as a society today. And I just love the idea of this ex-revolutionary that is trying to connect with his daughter. He doesn't have a phone, and she lives off of it's a generational miscommunication between them. And he's just trying to be a good dad, but he's failing at every stop. He doesn't know how to do it, and then his past comes back to sort of haunt him. And it was just a fantastic idea. So, I jumped at the opportunity.
Paul Steven Spielberg, when he interviewed you the other day, said the movie reminded him of Dr. Strangelove. Was that a surprise to you? Did that make you glad? Was that Kubrick movie a direct influence while you were writing?
Well, no, I mean, many people have tried and failed to try to do what he did there. So you have to not try. But what is good, I think we have all taken is his ability to make sure that you're laughing at the absurdity of human nature. And that's something you run with, but you never try to copy Dr. Strangelove. That's a rule of thumb that you will fail. So try to borrow a little bit, get it in there, but do your own thing. Hopefully, I think perhaps one of the reasons why some of that stuff works is the performers who play the Christmas adventurers are such good actors and so committed and serious to the shit that they're saying that it helps it be very funny.
And you've got Don Moffat, you've got Tony Goldwyn. Like, who doesn't want to join
and
the
Jim
Tony
Downey
Goldwyn Club?
and
Right.
Kevin Feige. Yeah.
Right, they're all great. Sean, you've said that your plan was just to read a couple pages of the script. Like, I guess you were like out of the shower, and then there you are, dripping wet, reading the whole thing, which is a fascinating visual. But I'd be curious to know, what was your reaction, particularly to Lockjaw's fate in this movie when you read it for the first time?
Did you say to his fate?
Yeah.
I don't know that I considered it that way. I think when I read, there's been over the years. I was thinking about this today, that sometimes when when one reads a script, a certain music comes into the head, and you start in. And I giggled a lot. And this was one of those ones. I sort of thought, because as you've all just seen the film, one wouldn't guess what Paul was doing next. And when I saw what he was doing next, I just thought, this is, and it's what I feel right now, this is a gift for an actor, for actors, and for cinema. Like, I just thought, and I just was giddy and kept reading.
It's so much
Dripping
fun.
wet.
Yeah. And yeah, wet. Teyana, obviously, Perfidia, and you've said that you don't necessarily agree with every decision that she makes in this movie, or maybe any of the decisions that she makes in this movie. But that aside, is she someone who is still an inspiration to you? And if so, what about Perfidia Beverly Hills is inspirational to you?
Honestly, I think that Perfidia is badass. Would I be shooting a machine gun pregnant? Probably not. But the vision of it was like fucking iconic. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is dope. Um, but the reason why I have a soft spot for Perfidia is because how she handles things as a mother is one thing. I definitely don't agree with that. But I've been in a space of being in survival mode before. And survival mode is not a pretty place to be. And survival mode is also not a pretty place to be when you're dealing with postpartum depression. And I'm a mother of two. And I feel like postpartum is something that people don't really take serious, or it's not like poured into enough, and how real and how dark it gets. So I was able to empathize, and give her grace and understand that she's just trying to figure it out, and again, she's very complex, but she's also in survival mode, and no one is doing anything to help her through that or walk her through that, So I've seen a lot of myself in Perfidia, also being boisterous and also feeling like, I will not be silenced. You know what I'm saying? Like, and very clear, I've told a few people before, this pussy don't pop for you. You know? That was fun saying that. It was fun writing it in my handwriting too. Shout out to to Jungle Pussy. You know, it's just like, yeah, it's like this pussy don't pop for you, and it just be like that sometimes.
I'm sure it was
That is a
quite
great line.
challenge.
Regina, you bring such a beautiful humanity to all of your scenes in this film, and I've heard you say that you think Deandra is like the most pure, kind of honest character in the movie. What did you find most compelling about her?
I loved the story. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. That was so weird that I just said your name in full. But I'm such a fan of Paul. And so when I read the script, well, when he first told me about Deandra, I didn't read it. I didn't have the script. But I was so excited because I know that Paul always creates such incredible worlds. And so I was so curious because I'm always like, I psychically stalked Paul for about a decade. I was going after him right in here. I was hunting you down, Paul. And so because was so obsessed with his films, but specific all of them, but after Phantom Thread, I really was like, I've wanted to poison people. I've told you that. Boyfriends specifically to make them act right, and be vulnerable. But I thought, what man knows that? Has he been poisoned? Maya. So, but what I thought was that I still had such every character he writes I have felt for. So for me, it was like, how do I bring that? Deandra doesn't talk a lot, right? And so Paul is masterful at how he shoots things, and so his shots are a language in and of themselves. And so for me, it was, what do I use to show where Perfidia started? I would believe we all started there with that intention in the French 75, and I think Deandra just was someone who really, her purpose was singular, and it truly was the cause, and not the other stuff.
Benicio, this isn't the first time you've worked with Paul. I'd be curious to know, at what point during the process the first time did you realize, okay, this is a guy I want to work with again? Was it like very quickly? Was it during the shoot? Was it when you saw the finished product? When did you know you wanted to do this again?
Anytime he wants. I mean, in every sensei way of the word. But yeah, it's just Paul is one of those directors, like Leo said, that if he wants you in your movie, it doesn't matter what it is, you go and bat for him. Yeah, it's just and what Sean said. Also, it's just like it's a dream come true to work with a filmmaker like that.
One thing I love about a lot of your scenes is how the camera is moving with you in the apartment, down, up and down the hallway. It's got such great energy to it. How did the camera work in those moments affect things? Did it make it more exciting, more challenging?
Yeah, I mean it makes it you could hear the. I remember there was one time that I didn't hear action, and I was outside the door, and I had to come in, and I'm just sitting there going like, okay, and then out of the book goes action, and I busted in, and I forgot what I had to say and everything, but it was just like so. It brings energy to it, So that the sometimes you have to open up for the camera person, and but it all worked, when you see it, you're like, okay, that's. I would open the door, let the camera come in, and then get in front of the camera. So it was like it's a little bit like a sport. Oh.
Chase, you just blew me away in this movie. Your performance is so spectacular. And I know it was a kind of a long audition process, and I know you very freely admit that you hadn't seen that many of Paul's movies beforehand. So when you did get the part, or at some point during the process, did you go on like a Paul Thomas Anderson bender or a spree to watch as many of the movies as you could?
I feel like my bender spree kind of started after I finished because I'd watched There Will Be Blood in between shooting, And then I found myself kind of getting in my head at kind of who he is and the scope of his world and the scope of his work. And I kind of had to be like, okay, let me not psych myself out so I can finish filming this and just make sure that I do like justice by everyone in the film and by Paul and by Willa and the story. So yeah.
You know, when I watch your scenes in this, particularly the stuff with Sean, I see in Willa this combination of fear, but also defiance. And first of all, it's such a crazy combination to play at the same time, and you do it so beautifully. What were you feeling as you were working with this incredible group? Was it a similar combination of emotions?
Yes. I mean, like, literally, I'm on stage with some beasts completely. And if anything, I just wanted to do justice by scene partners, especially like for that scene with Sean, which is like one of my favorite parts shooting in the movie. But I was definitely very scared at first. But everyone, like Paul, Leo, Sean, Benicio, Regina, Teyana, were so helpful and so kind and just they opened up a floor for me to explore and to just feel comforted in the family that we've created. And I'm grateful to all of them for that. So thank you.
Oh, my baby.
Leo, one of the many things that I love about what you do in this movie is just the way you move physically through the space. You know, when you're on the tatami and when you're just kind of just the way with the being stoned and just being as awkward as Bob is. What was that like? Was that part of the fun of this, was to explore those different sides?
It's the setup in the world and the sort of microcosm that Paul creates. You know, he sets up the building blocks. I read this book called Days of Rage, and I know it was based on loosely based on the Thomas Pynchon novel Vineland. I chose sort of not to read that, but this idea of a guy that's sort of stumbling around as an extra in the first part of the movie that's trying to catch up with this, you know, vivacious revolutionary who's fallen in love, but, you know, doesn't necessarily make the right choices and then is left on his own to, you know, raise this child and is completely ill-equipped. He's haunted by his past. She leaves a wake of carnage through every character in this movie. And he's trying to be a father and failing miserably. And, you know, just the setup of what Paul had of there he is at home thinking about his past, watching Battle of Algiers, smoking a bong. I was like, okay, we're going to take it from there. And just the setup that this man, what would he be doing when his daughter gets kidnapped and his past comes back to haunt him? He'd be sitting there stoned out of his mind, paranoid, and in a robe, you know, in a robe for the rest of the movie and continuously failing. But I think that the one thing that we kind of discovered when we were making this character together was Paul said something to me in the middle of shooting, which is, you know, there's a traditional way to play this character. There's something that is expected, and I think he always takes an unexpected route. And it's the sheer pursuit of never giving up for the person that he loves, you know, and that's his heroism at the end of the day. He's just a relentless hound dog that is falling off of roofs and you know, getting shocked, but he never gives up, and that's his heroism. He's a flawed protagonist, which I love to play.
I mean, Paul, I feel like it's so difficult to insert humor that works into a story this intense. And yet every bit of humor totally works in this movie. What was your rule of thumb, if there was one, when you were writing it and when you were on the set to make sure that everything felt appropriate? Or was it just instinct or finding it in the edit? I mean, it just from start to finish, that must have been a tough part of the process.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that I I do have a prerequisite if I'm going to see a film, which is, are there any laughs? Because if there's no laughs, I don't want to see it. Or I used to feel like I wanted to see serious movies, and nowadays I have to have laughs. So I suppose we all kind of I think we were all on the same page about the things that we found funny, and generally back to the absurdities of human nature. Generally, they were in that ballpark, that kind of gag world. But the thing with jokes, I suppose, is they have to be there for a reason. They have to exist from the characters. Characters telling jokes usually doesn't quite work. Humor arising out of the situation, from the circumstances, generally works the best. And I think we all kind of share a sense of humor here, and even in some of the darker stuff, you find humor at the absurdity of it. Otherwise, you're gonna spend a lot of time crying, very sad.
Sean, obviously you've played so many different types of roles throughout your career, some of which are kind of closer to you probably, and some of which aren't. What's it like to play a guy whose worldview is like, could not be further away probably from your own? Is that part of what makes it enjoyable?
Is that what you saw?
Yeah.
I think not just actors, I think people at large can understand, a mind game of like, what would happen if you replace the word morality with lethality? And it's fun to think that way. Because competence in anything has a common ground. And so when something's new, if you make an adjustment, assuming I made an adjustment, it will surprise you how all the rest of you responds and acts on it. And in this case, also, there's the whole narrative and the way that normally you would, as an actor, kind of graph a role. I think that when you have someone who invites that kind of, everyone might articulate it differently, like lethality, morality, whatever that play on one's own mind is to find the music of something. But when the music's available to be found, you can actually step away from graphing because Paul Thomas Anderson's going to be there to help you graph it every day. And you can just pick up on whatever part of that rhythm it is. And then, I've never been in a movie or a play where I could look to my right and my left and not imagine anyone else in that cast than I do here. And then with this, it's just like I go back to this sense of you're never concerned with, is the camera in the right place? So you really get to go and dance.
There's a couple specific moments I'd love to ask about. Teyana, I was really moved by your voiceover of the letter at the end of the film. At what point did you do that? How did you create an environment in a sound booth or wherever it was that you felt it was the right time and place to do it?
Oh, that's a heavy question. Paul, how you want to answer that? How you want to answer
I'll help you answer that.
Yeah.
I think we shot in two chunks of the movie, and the first half was really dedicated to Perfidia's story in that first chunk, and we came to the end of that, and Perfidia wasn't scheduled in the second half. She ended up coming back in the second half because we did some new stuff and some new material. But I'll just say that I took her quietly to the side in some weird, I don't know what it was, room in the back room of
Just
a
me, you, and the
warehouse
sound man.
thing. It was me and Dave, our boom operator, and this one, and we just read a bunch of stuff out, and it was very emotional. I don't know what it was. I also think we were both a bit sick and tired, and it just sort of something good happened. Very emotional, fun little end to that first part of the shooting. We just spent about a half hour doing it. And then, of course, we tried to make it much more professional about a year later in a recording booth, and it sounded terrible. We chucked it out the window.
It was bad.
Yeah, it's always the way it goes,
But I'm always telling Paul, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's like, yeah, you're right. He starts digging through his pixie. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, twin, just stop. We got it.
So Teyana, what was your reaction when you first saw it put together as it is at the end?
I was like, damn, a bitch died the first 5 minutes. No, but no, when I first seen it, because we didn't shoot in order. So it's like when I first seen it, like I seen it with Paul, and we were seeing like the dailies and stuff, but when I seen it all together, I seen it with Paul. But what really hit me was yesterday, like seeing it with a crowd. And like, you ever watch something, you like, I hope people get it. Do you think they'll get it? Like all the laughing beats, like everybody yesterday, including today, because I was in the back watching, y'all passed the vibe check. Y'all ate that up. Y'all passed the vibe check because it did exactly what I knew it would do. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful just watching baby Perfidia, like, you know, just carry it and do her thing. It's just so emotional to watch because, you know, everybody sitting here has put blood, sweat, and tears into this film, and especially with everything that was happening with Adam, you know, was very emotional. And to see this genius right here still get up and fight to get this finished, and, you know, we've cried together and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's like watching a movie just hit different. You know, being here also hits different. You know, just thinking about Adam, and, you know, he just played such a big part in this. And again, to see P's strength to get through this was amazing. So watch every single time. I've seen it about 6 times, and every single time I watch it, it just aged so gracefully and so beautifully, and it just get really more and more emotional for me, honestly. Like, even like, this pussy don't pop for you. You know, like, it's just, even in the funny moments, it's just like, damn, we really all worked really, really hard, and it's just so beautifully put together, honestly.
Leo, after I got home and I was thinking about the scenes of yours that I really loved and the stuff on the phone, and I'm thinking about the outdoor phone booth, but I'm also really thinking about inside, you know, with the what time is it? Was there an actor off camera near you performing the other line?
He's here somewhere. Stand up, Dan.
Hey, I see the wave.
There he is, right there.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have been possible for you to time it in your head. You needed someone there.
I love the fact that this guy had his own sort of political makeup, but 15 years later, 16 years later, that shit kind of changes. You know what I mean? And then the wokeness that he grew up with has twisted into sort of a more don't tread on me, anti-government, I don't want to hear this shit anymore. I'm tired of that. That's my past. And what happens when, like I said earlier, you set up a character that's supposed to be, you know, in a, you know, that's set up for an action film star that's going to do anything to protect his daughter and defy all odds, but he can't remember the goddamn password. And that sort of dominates his whole character in the first 2 acts. I'm too stoned to remember the password. I can't get out of the gate to do this. So it's just those unexpected choices and that sort of absurdity that makes this film unique to me. And yeah.
We got to talk about the car scenes because there's so many great car scenes in this movie. I mean, Benicio, you've got great ones. And then, of course, the roller coaster road at the end. So let me start with you, Benicio. Did you enjoy the automotive work?
Yes, I did.
Best goddamn actor driver in the business.
I mean,
right?
honestly,
One of them.
What makes him so good?
he could take in any American car and park it right fucking there, right? And wherever you need it. Gotta be American car, though.
It's got to be an American car, Ford.
Yeah, it's got to be a big car. I will park it anywhere.
Benicio, did you impress and surprise yourself with your skills, or you knew you had them?
With the what?
With your driving skills?
No, I knew I had it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I grew up with those big cars, you know, and if you messed up, you were going to get hit in the head.
So I learned the hard way.
Paul, how did you come at how you decided to shoot those roads? I mean, those shots are so fascinating with those hills. I mean, it's
I
like
thought you were going to ask me, how did you shoot that? And I was going to use the John Ford line, with a camera, you know? I'll admit something to you that you're usually not supposed to admit, is that we knew, what did we know? We knew that our movie was going to reach an end, and somehow our sloppy hero was going to have to save the day, or at least get his daughter back. There had been so many versions of exactly how that happened, and none of them were satisfying, I think, to any of us. And in one of about 1 billion location scouts, as we were sort of mapping out this car chase, as it seemed to kind of be moving along and trying to figure it out, we ended up about 20 miles in from the Arizona border, between the Arizona border and Borrego Springs, and there's a stretch of road there that we shot on, and we were going fast, and I started to realize, this is very scary. You can't see anybody behind you from time to time, and you certainly don't know what's over the horizon line, and you're going 75, 80 miles an hour. You just have to, you might as well just like close your eyes and cross your fingers that there isn't going to be something there. So I took out my phone and I just kind of plopped it onto the dashboard, and we saw what would happen. And by the time we got back to Borrego Springs, we were at the biggest dip, a thing called the Texas dip. And so sort of maybe the movie gods were on our side, or something happened, and it kind of emerged as an idea to have this ending where the best part about it was that our hero, our real hero in Willa, could take agency of the situation and see her after she spent 2 hours handcuffed twice and beaten up and thrown around, to get her active and to see her in action. And so it all kind of organically happened, and it was a combination of really the work of Adam and Brian McEllight, our stunt coordinator, and an incredible crew of drivers.
and that actor's great. His name is John Hugenacher.
That's right.
He's fabulous,
Yeah.
and I love everything he does. Chase, did you enjoy the driving stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got time for one last question. Leo, how would you say working with Paul in the reality of it compared to what your expectation of it was going
I'm
to be?
here. I'm in the room. I mean, I'm sitting right
I know.
here.
I still want to know.
How did you first feel about the multi-hyphenate Paul Thomas?
The multi-hyphenate. No, it's interesting because I'm finding it harder and harder to articulate for myself what I do. It feels very difficult, because you just feel self-conscious and strange. And then to be talking about somebody that I've respected for so long right next to me, it's also strange. But the truth of the matter is there is an easiness to it in a weird way. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like when Benicio came on board too, and it was like things just kind of, they just click and they work, and there's a chemistry, and it's not something that you have to have a profound effort to I don't know, to blossom on set. And Paul, I'll just say this: he's got an incredible bullshit detector, which I love. I need that as an actor. I need to have somebody rein certain choices in. I give a lot of different ideas, and he's got this ease and this simplicity and this conviction with what he wants to do, but he's also willing to let, you take control of your character, but if he feels like you have a good idea, and it's usually 1 out of 10 that he does thinks is a good idea, the film on a dime can take a completely different direction. And when Benicio came in, he's like, no, I know who Sensei Carlos. I mean, we waited 3 months for Benicio to arrive, and he's like, Sensei Carlos is going to have, a little Harriet Tubman situation going on with immigration. And I'm going to know the girl at the hospital, too. And I'm going to know the girl at the corrections facility. And I'm going to know all these people. And we're like, yeah, you're right. And the whole course of the movie, it's that flexibility that he has when he hears that one good idea to say, all right, none of that's on the paper, but we're going that direction. Let's charge forward. And that's an amazing gift.
Go ahead.
I would suggest that it's just trust and respect. I think I trust all these guys and in respect. You don't fight with anybody you respect. You don't argue. It's joy, overwhelming joy.
There's a lot of joy in this. My favorite is the fist, the trapdoor, and the carpet that rolls out just absolutely perfectly. That's like a Rube Goldberg perfect moment amongst many perfect moments in this movie. Paul, Leo, Chase, Sean, Teyana, Regina, Benicio, I congratulate you all. I thank you all for sticking around.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.